Saying with NJ. Panelists are Terrence and Chanel, who've been married for 8 years. They've been brought together for a purpose bigger than themselves. We have Tabin and Katrina, who've been married for 10 years. Their marriage has been lived, adjusted, and renewed. And our host for this evening, NJ.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back for another episode of I'm Just Saying. This month, we've had some amazing married couples that joined us. If you missed any of those married couples episodes, you can go and see them on YouTube, Periscope. Um, I was about to say Instagram. No, YouTube and Periscope, and you can also go back to Facebook and you can watch any of those episodes that were previously aired. But tonight, I have with me Tabin and Katrina, and I have Terrence and Chanel. I'd like to welcome y'all to I'm Just Saying. So we're not even going to prolong the time because time waits for no one. So I'm going to ask you our first question, and anyone can answer. So my first question tonight is, why is it so hard for women to submit?
Well,
I'm just saying.
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
I think that, my generation, when we came up, we were raised to be able to take care of ourselves. That my dad raised me that, you don't want to be able to have to be dependent on a man. So we looked at submission as being dependent on someone, and we wanted to be able to self-sustain. So when I got married, being that I was conditioned to be this independent woman, when I got married and my husband was telling me to submit, I saw submission as a sign of weakness. I saw submission as meaning that I couldn't have my independence and I had to ask somebody for everything that I did. I looked at submission as being a form of bondage, actually, that I was like, I'm grown. I went to school. I lived my life. So why I got to do all of this just to be married? So I felt like I was losing a piece of myself in order to be a submitted wife.
Chanel, you want to add?
Yeah. I could piggyback off that. I think it definitely has something to do with how you raised. My mom raised me to be super strong. Like you said, don't depend on anybody, especially not a man. I think it's fear for sure, because the unknown, you don't know what's going to happen once I commit to this. And then social media or society, you're rare if you're going to submit to your husband. It's not the norm. So you're worried about what people are going to say. And it's letting go of control is another big thing. Yeah. So I think those are the top couple of reasons why women are scared to submit.
Yeah. Gentlemen, you want to say something, or you want me to move on to the next question and leave that alone?
That was a great question for the woman. I think they hit the nail right on the coffin. It was right on time. No, seriously, y'all. Even just to kind of piggyback off what my wife is saying, not only is it hard for women to submit, I don't think that men were raised to be men. So what are we asking you to submit to? You know what I mean? So
that's good.
Being a leader, a godly leader, I don't think a lot of men understand that. These generations coming up now, they don't believe in God and ain't no Jesus. So, really the problem starts with, like you said, how we was raised. Like, even the men don't understand, we want you to submit. Most of the submission we saw was grandma being slapped around, or, moms being cheated on and staying. You know what I mean? Like, and it's fathers that I know guys who dads raised them like, boy, you better keep your one on the side. So when we asking a woman to submit that has never been trained and taught, and then I'm a man that's never been trained and taught how to be a man and a leader of my house, like with those two things. So I just don't think it's a woman issue. I think it's both sides.
No, first lady in speaking tongues with the one.
That was the safest answer I wrote out. I wrote that out. So I can sleep in bed tonight.
So you had
y'all in the room. Other than that, over there.
I think the other part of it comes to it is that control, but it's putting yourself in a position to be vulnerable, right? If you're willingly allowing someone to have any form of authority over you, you have to be sure that they're going to have your best interests at heart. And I think that hinders things, especially like Terrence said, if a woman has seen examples where a man did not have, especially a woman that was close to her best interests at heart, it makes it then hard for her to put herself in that vulnerable position. So it's almost like if you cause us to fail, then I have to be affected by it. And that was one of the things that was hard for Trina when she was trying to get to that place where she would allow me to lead, right? Because the submission things allow your husband to lead, because she was afraid, right? She was used to making decisions on her own. And what happens if you make a bad decision and my life is altered for the worst? Now I'm back to a position I never wanted to be in. And if I was by myself, I wouldn't be in. So I think that plays into it as well. And it has to be kind of a learned behavior, because you have to trust. And you have to trust God first and then kind of let go and say, okay, I trust that no matter what happens, I can be okay if I don't like trusting God. But that's the tough part too.
And can I just add to that what everyone's saying? It's also the relationships that you've been in leading up to that person you're marrying.
Yeah.
So if you've had a lot of negative experiences in relationships, that feeds into the trust that makes you not want to be vulnerable. So you go into that, you enter into that marriage not knowingly with your guard up or this wall up that's preventing you from letting it down. Because as my husband said, you got to be vulnerable to be able to submit. And sometimes we don't want to be vulnerable because we've been hurt in previous relationships.
Absolutely.
That's
Totally agree.
So our topic tonight is, should a wife submit to her husband? I'm just saying. Either couple could start off.
Yeah.
Everybody all at once. The women are like, the fee's going out.
So there has to be some type of order in everything, but especially in marriage. So me and Terrence own 6 businesses. So I live with him and I work with him. So I'm always with him all the time. It's a lot going on. So, home issues trickle into work issues trickle into home. Like, it's a lot to manage. But I'm a little bit rebellious on top of being strong, just a little bit. So
Okay.
yes. So
Can we edit that word a little bit out?
the Lord is working on me. Yes,
he has.
and he's brought me a mighty long way.
Yeah.
And
Hold on, we need to pause for the start. You saw it rolls up.
if you are going to be married, yes, you have to submit to your husband. And like you were saying, it's a lack of trust in God if it's really hard for you to do it. Because if you believe that God sent you this man for you to marry,
Amazing man.
yes,
Uh-huh.
amazing. If he sent you this amazing, wonderful man, right? You messing me up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I forgot what I was saying.
You sent you this amazing man.
Yes.
You should
You should trust that this is your husband and that he, like you said, he has your best interests at heart. It's just really hard to, like, especially if you look up the word submission. I don't suggest nobody look it up because it ain't right.
You don't lie.
I know it sounds like you a slave. Like, that's the first. That's what I got from it. I said, "Oh, I'm gonna close that back. I won't go like that." Like, it's a lot. And like you said, when you've never been taught it. And then the other problem is you want me to submit to this other flawed human being that might have hurt me. He said something mean to me. He might have made a bad decision that I didn't agree with. And I'm supposed to just love him through that and trust that he's gonna make a better decision the next time. It's hard, but you have to, because it has to be some type of order in the house. It does. And when you out of order, everything is out of order as a wife, like, because it can't be 2 leaders in the house. It caused too many issues. The kids can see it, outside people can see it. Like, it's just a lot. So the answer to my question is yes, absolutely. If you're gonna be married and you in a covenant with yourself and God and your husband, yes, it's a requirement. It's a requirement.
I would agree. Like when I first got married, the word just the thought of the word submission made me feel ill.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't even say it in a sentence. Like I would just say that word, or I was like that S word. Like I couldn't even say it because I literally would feel nauseous just to think about it. I guess it was just going against the whole fiber of who I was. But
Is that a past tense? Is it?
Okay, really, y'all are all over here. Really, that's how we doing it.
No, go ahead. We're sorry.
Okay, you messing me up. You messing me up.
I'm so sorry.
Okay,
Go ahead, man.
but
Go ahead. We're sorry.
you can't have a leader. I mean, two people can't lead. You can't have two heads. A
Right.
body has only one head. When
Yes.
you see a person with two heads on one body, it looks deformed.
Yes.
It is.
And so with that said, I had to learn. I feel like in order to have a successful and healthy marriage, I had to start submitting. And I've been married 10 years. And I'm gonna tell you, it's a process. It's not something that you like. I know I say the two become one, but it's a process to get to that submission part. Because I feel like we can join in the bedroom quicker than we can submit. I'm just gonna
Amen.
Yes, that's the truth.
But what I realized was, I think recently I wanted to become a certified life coach, and I wanted my husband to do it with me. So I said, let's do this together. And he didn't want to do it. And I wanted him to want to do it, but I wanted us to do it together. But I made this commitment to God. I said, well, Lord, I really want to do this. I said, but if he doesn't want to do it, I'm going to respect it, and I'm not going to do it because I want us to do it together. And I made that commitment in my mind, and I was like, "Ooh, I done come a long way." Because there used to be a time I was like, "Well, whether he doing it or not, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do me." But I have gotten to the point where I want to submit because I see how it makes our marriage flow a little bit better. And I'll let you tell that story, that revelation that I won't feel when you first shared it with me about the submission. Remember that when you were talking about was it Ruth?
Yeah, I might have been. It was a long time ago. Huh? You see, clearly, we've had a lot of questions about submission over the years of 10. And I think that's kind of the struggle we had in the beginning. I knew I was called to lead in a marriage. That's what God wanted for men to lead. And I think that's kind of the things that should be considered. And I guess that question comes later if you're engaged or newlywed. But I'm not going to fight for control. I've never been that type of person. I'm not going to fight you to try to control anything. If you think your way is better and it's going to work, then try it. And early on in our marriage, things didn't work, right? I mean, she tried. There was still situations where she would step in and try to fix it, and it would fall apart. And then I would come behind and have to fix it or fix the situation anyway. And I think that helped to a degree when she started learning that, because then she started to realize if you got to do it anyway, you should just do it. But she was so used to doing things on her own. But she's right when things flow better when you line up, because you're lining up with that covenant agreement you've made with each other and God. And I remember the question I asked her a long time ago, because I think she talks about Ruth. The first chapter of Ruth started, it starts, the scripture says all the men died, right? It was Ruth's husband, his father, and his brother. All of them died, and all the women were left alive. And they all died because they led their families to a place God never intended for them to go. So he didn't punish the women, he removed the men. And even though that left Ruth, if you read the rest of the chapter, it left her in a bad spot for a while. But God blessed her because she stewarded her marriage well and she was faithful. And he wound up blessing her, and the rest of her life was easy. Everybody remembers the Boaz part. They just don't remember how she started. And so I asked her, I said, if I make a decision that you know is going to be bad and it's not going to work out for us, can you still follow it? And she said, I don't know. I don't know if I can. I don't think I can right now. And that was kind of the question where we left it at the time. And I told her, I said, if I lead incorrectly, God is going to take care of you if you honor your part. He'll remove me, but you will be fine no matter how it turns out. And even with that, she was still like, I don't know. I don't want my life to be messed up. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know. And so we kind of left it there for a while. And eventually it kind of came around. But she was right about the process part of it. It took a while. But I think the key for men is not to try to, because submission doesn't mean you're dominant or forceful, right? You don't want to force, right? If it's a process to come along, you can hinder the process as a man by trying to be like, I'm the man. You're going to do what I say. But you're going to have a lot of problems in your household for a long time with that mentality. I think it helped to love her through that while she was working through that process. It got frustrating and it was tough. But I think when you get to the other side, it's worth it. So a wife should submit because it flows better when that happens.
And to that point, I had to let him make those mistakes leading, because he had to learn some things, and I couldn't be like, no. I had to allow him to go through his process.
Yeah, that's what grace come in. Marriage requires a lot of grace.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I ever made any mistakes.
Okay. What's the next question? What's the next question for a fight start? Hurry up.
I've been pretty perfect. Now that I think about it.
What's the next question?
We're all gonna have intercessory prayer after this when we done.
I want to hear what Terrence has to say about submission, a wife submitting.
So first of all, my wife wrote a book about submission.
What? I'm getting it. Oh yeah.
And it is good. And she talked about, I don't want to spoil it.
No, yeah, I talked about the first question, the 5 reasons why I believe women struggle with being submissive.
Yep, she talked about that.
Yep.
But I'm not going to spoil it. But my wife wrote a book about it. I'm so proud of her because, it's been a long road. But let me tell you what I've learned. When she submitted, it forced me to submit, because
Come on here.
I didn't understand my role as a husband. Like I'm a man. I was raised to be strong. You don't cry. My mom died when I was 10. So now Bishop Garrett, you just said it. About we can't force it. I found myself trying to make her and force her to be sensitive and force her to submit. But when I learned how to support her, I would point out her flaws and try to get her. If you just stop cooking with butter, we won't be fat. You know what I mean? She cooked with 2 cans of butter. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm calling the divorce lawyer like, man, she cooking with the butter again. I can't do this because I'm getting fat. You know what I mean? But when I learned to support her, like I seen her submit to God and and her relationship with God forced her to be softer with me. And when I saw that, and we went to counseling, and counselor said, Terrence, you ain't gonna get what you want until you submit to God. So through her obedience, it forced me to see me, because I used to be perfect, like a couple of weeks ago. But I learned that I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, so now, like when women submit, like everybody talked about, when you submit to a real man, the benefit is it's amazing. Am I right?
It is.
But it works for everybody, for our children, for our household, for our families, the people that's around her. It works for everybody. It works for everybody. So it's very important that women submit, right? Yeah.
Okay, so you actually went into my next question. My question is, what are the benefits of submission?
I go first. It's stuff that you don't have to worry about anymore. The stuff that I wanted to make decisions about or be in control of, or I don't know. It's kind of freeing to know, hey, listen, he the man of the house, so this is his job. I'm gonna let him worry about this. I'm not gonna stress myself out about how the bill's gonna get paid. When he bring me the money, I'm gonna pay what we can pay, what we're gonna do. And it's not my job no more, it's his job. It helped us establish roles. So that's what helped me. I wasn't trying to do his job and my job and the secretary job and everybody. It released me a little bit.
I'll go back to my example about you have 2 heads on one body, it's deformed. If you have a body with just the head, what's it gonna do? But when you have a head that's connected to something, whereas the body does movement, but the head is like the central place, I feel like the body works as it's supposed to work. I think when you put submission in the marriage, you're allowing the marriage to work the way it was designed to work, because
doing it God's way.
Yeah.
So that's the benefit.
You better preach first, lady.
I cannot.
I think that is the the true power of it as well, because you want God in your marriage. And Chanel touched on it as well. God's not going to come into anything that's disorder. You can continue to invite God in, but if you're not going to set up the order or operate to what he's already established, he's not going to come in, which leads to even more problems. So the benefit of that is now you're in a place where the marriage will flow better, but God can be intertwined in it. It's kind of like that threefold cord, and things get easier. And also, I think that it helps the man as well, right? Kind of help. I think it'll help him develop in his role, because now it's different when somebody says they trust you, right? And they trust you to make decisions, and you know that weight of responsibility falls on your shoulders. And I think the one time when she was getting to the place where she was getting better at that, one time she just said, whatever decision you make, I'm going to follow it. And for the first time in a marriage, I felt weight like never before, right? Because if this decision fell apart, it wasn't hers, it was mine. And now she has placed her trust in me. So now I don't want to abuse that or hurt that. And now I'm like, whew. And you know what I said after she said that? What do you think we should do? You know what happened?
Put it back on her.
You try to get all the input you can before you make a decision.
There you go. So let's do 4.
I said it was right. We're going to do it. Right? But the moment she says, I trust you're going to make something, I'm like, I need all the input. And hey, I got to make a decision. What you think? Like,
Call your pastor.
Because it's that weight, but it helps the man also in that role and responsibility to know this is different than just me trying to get my way with something. This is our lives. This is what we're trying to build. This is for our future, for our family, for our children. And it also helps. So submission makes everything line up, and it helps people grow freely without the hindrances as well.
That's good.
That's really good. So my question is, what caused you to submit or hesitate from submitting?
Well, for me, it was relationships. What I saw in my family, the relationships that I saw demonstrated before me in my childhood with my aunts and my uncles, and I was like, you ain't gonna catch me, no. And then I had relationships where people had hurt me, and so what I did, unbeknownst to me, was I built up this wall. And when we first got married, he would kiss me goodbye every time he would walk out the house, and every time he would kiss me, he would say, "It's so hard to love you. You're so difficult to love." He would say that every time. I mean, we might not even be
wasn't every time.
It was like almost
Every time. Every other.
It was almost every time.
Is this live?
It wouldn't be. And we wouldn't even have. It wouldn't even be an argument though. It wouldn't even be an argument. But you would kiss me sometimes. You're like, it's so difficult.
I just lost all the brownie points I won with the audience.
No. But one day he said it, and I was laughing when he walked out, and I said, "Lord, why does he always say that?" And the Lord was like, "Because it's true." And I was like, "Oh, I gotta check me, right?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Over the years, you built up this wall because you've been hurt in relationships, and you built this wall because you said to yourself, I'll never allow myself to be hurt again. And because you built up this wall, now it's hard for you to receive love because you blocked yourself from receiving love because of this wall that you were trying to protect your heart, but it was also becoming the thing that blocked you from getting love." So he was like, you have to tear down the wall and allow yourself to be vulnerable, the word that nobody wants to be as a woman. Yeah. You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable so that you can experience the love that I put in this marriage for you to have. So I had to become vulnerable and take that posture of submission so that I can benefit from why I got married. It's like I said, it's not just about us coming together and now we can legitimately have sex. It's about us coming together and we're forming a life that goes beyond us laying in the bed together. It's what we do. It's our conversations. It's us being stuck in the house in COVID and we still married because it's a relationship that's not just on paper, but it's something that's in our hearts.
Yes. That's good. That was good.
Taven, you want something?
I think she kind of hit the head with that part of it, that tough part. It goes back to that vulnerability and then that trust. Both of us kind of came in with trust issues. We laid that on the table at first. And she did share that with me. And I was like, you know what? Trust that if you're not trusting me in that moment, trust that God put me here and that I have your best interest at heart. So trust God in it instead of you not trusting me at the point. And we had to build that. And I think that kind of helps with the submission part as well. But it also because she laid that on the table, it made me realize I never wanted in any small way betray that, because it took her a while to get there. It took some opening up, that tearing down of walls, that vulnerability. So it made me also look and say, this is something that I want to steward, I want to hold well, because I don't want to know what the repercussions may be if I ever break trust. How is she going to recover from that? Do we revert back to where we were? So I think when she got to that point of submission, that was the hard part. And we had to discuss it. And then I had to love her through that and then trust God. Because there were, Terrence said too, there were some hard times in that 10 years. Some hard times. There was some whole lot of, okay, Lord, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay. I'm going to stay with that person in the other room. I know it's your will. I'm not giving her.
It's your will. I don't even know if it's your will.
If it ain't your will, send me a feather or something. I'll go.
Lord.
I'll go, Lord.
I don't even want to
I won't be where you want me. I won't be where you don't want me to stay.
You showing me all the signs to leave, Lord. The water is running.
And that's why you were involved in it. Because it doesn't break down. You're like, God, hold me. Hold me. Crossing. But it works. It takes
You're
time.
like, God, if I go outside, this sky is blue, I'm leaving. It's blue. It's my time. It's my my grass green this morning.
Chanel and Terrence.
So I think the main struggle for me is I just didn't have an example. It was nobody around me that, when I really think about it, that was married, that have been married a long time. All the women in my family are really, really, really strong.
Except my dad.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I say her name on last year. Anyway, I came from a line of strong women, and Terrence was the first man. I shouldn't say that, but he was the first man that I was with. I kind of could tell everybody else what to do, and a little bit, but I could really tell everybody else what to do, and I was in control of the relationship. And Terrence he just was not having that. You have to be a leader. Somebody had to lead. Now, what got me to this place?
Come on.
I had a prophet say to me in December that I was out of order.
Was that 2019?
It was 2019. Last December. Okay, it ain't been a year. I got room to backslide.
The struggle is real. Come on.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. She told me I was out of order. I'm like, out of order? Like, I got the house in order, the businesses in order, my kids in line. Like, we good. Like, this, you don't even know me, lady. Like, whatever. So that happened in December. In January, I asked God for a word, and He gave me the word order. I looked the word order up. I'm like, all right, that's the second time I heard this. So I'm a great self-reflector. So I said, well, maybe you are out of order. So I went and read some stuff, and the word submission kept coming up. I'm like, no, this ain't, something ain't right. I don't know. So it was just on me so heavy. Like the weight of me being disobedient was so heavy on me. And we was getting in little stupid fights, and it was just a lot of stupid stuff going on. And God came to me and told me, you are being rebellious and you are out of order. And I'm going to keep this on you until you say yes. So on a Wednesday in the middle of the day at 12 o'clock, I had to go find an altar to go lay at and tell God, whatever you want me to do, I'm just going to do it. So that's what made me do it, because it was just like I was being rebellious. I knew what I should have been doing, but it was hard. I didn't want to commit to it. And I said yes, and I started working on myself and working on being submissive and working on being softer and more vulnerable and watching my tone and being respectful. And then God tells me to write a book. About what? He was like, about submission. I was like, I just started this a week ago. Like, I can't write no No book about it. What you want me to write a book
Come
about?
on, Jeremiah. Come on, Jeremiah. Come on.
So I went to a whole 2 more months about that. And that feeling started creeping up on me again. I said, oh no. So I went and bought me a notebook. And one morning, like seriously, I sat down at my computer desk at 8 o'clock in the morning. And I sat there at 5 o'clock and I wrote a devotional, a 5-day devotional. And that's how the devotional came along. And being submissive is like, it's still like an everyday process. Like it's intentional. Like I have to be mindful of my body language, my facial expressions, my tone, like what I say, how I say it, when I say it. Like it's a lot, but it gets easier. Like because he's being supportive, he's being softer with me. Baby, you said that a little rough instead of who you talking to. Things of that nature. Like
Rise up. Like you rise up, I'm gonna rise
Right.
up.
yeah,
Well, also when she rise up, I send her a picture of her book. No, we are good. Like when I softened up, because I felt like I had to be strong and like she ain't gonna tell me what to do. I'm gonna have to go off. I'm just so every chance I was going off. Your mama stink, your daddy stink, your brother stink. You know what I mean? Like just anything to gain power. But when I learned how to be softer with her, and she'll do something and it'll piss me off, and I'm like, ah, and I'm fussing. Now I'm just like, instead of me getting frustrated with her, I see her get frustrated, and it's like it's no oranges in the refrigerator. I'm like, we can go get some oranges. I support her. I too know how it feels to not have oranges in the refrigerator, and then I hug her and I
don't even
kiss
want
her.
no oranges no more. I'm gonna tell you what something else that did me too. We went to counseling, right? And I took him to counseling because he needed it, right?
Oh, we did too. We did counseling.
Okay.
Listen, don't be. Look, you want a happy marriage and you need work. Go to counseling. Go to counseling.
But did you hear what she said?
I went to counseling and because he needed it. I was all right because I read. All right. I went to counseling and them people told me I was practicing witchcraft.
Oh my!
Because I was being controlling and manipulative. I said, you got to show me that in the book. He pointed right to it. I said, oh, well, let me write that scripture down. That was another thing that was like,
oh,
that's not in my Bible.
Like,
What is that?
if you like, that's pretty bad. If somebody gonna tell you a witch, like you need to go home and like check yourself. Like that was a lot. So that was thank you, Pastor Green, if you watching. Yeah, I appreciate y'all.
That was last week. That was last.
So yeah. But yeah, so that was it take a lot of self-reflection to.
Yeah, we are in such a great place because of our submission to God and each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and it just happened this year, y'all. It's just like for real this year. And we've been married
this month, like what? Last month? No.
You see that? Did y'all see that? Did y'all see that? That's what you gotta do when they say so. You just gotta look at them and smile. Seen it in person. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, this is good. My question to you, if you had to tell a newlywed couple watching, what advice would you give them?
Go to premarital counseling.
Run.
And don't take like 2 or 3 classes. Go have some deep, hard premarital counseling. Ask hard questions. Know what your spouse, how they handle money. Do they want to discipline the children or not? Where they want to live? Like, are they a saver? Are they a spender? Like, you need to know what you're signing up for. Know their background. Learn their triggers. Take the 5 love language quiz so you'll know how to love them. It's a lot of stuff. I can go on and on and on. The point is, know what you're signing up for and don't find out afterwards and then be trying to fix it. Like it's a lot.
But don't do all of that because they're gonna break up.
No, you
can be
can
like,
do all of
you
that.
like chocolate ice cream.
If you break up, then you ain't supposed to be married. That's right. That's what the questions is for. Do all of that.
It's tough because you gotta love each other through it. Man.
You do.
Marriage is hard. Like I swear, I thought, me and Chanel weren't all the way right when we got married. You know what I mean? But I thought that when you get married, like Cupid come and he like, so I'm thinking like, like everything goes away. We married now. We in love. Like, so our first argument the same day that we got married, I couldn't believe that we was arguing. I'm like, yo, like we married. Like we can't argue. Like we in love now. Like this is real.
See, and I grew the complete opposite. I saw people in love get into a fight, and then the next morning, which is probably dysfunctional, but the next morning I don't know if they talked about it or not, but the next morning they woke up and it was good. So in my mind, people who love each other fight. Like it's okay to fight, as long as you okay the next day.
And I never seen my mom and stepdad fight. And she died when I was 10. And then I moved with my grandma and granddaddy. I can remember maybe twice her and my granddaddy getting into an argument. And when they did, like it stick out so much to me even to this day. And that was 30 years ago because they never argued. So I'm thinking when you married, like you once you put the ring on, like you in love, and it's just it's silver bells. You know what I mean?
First off, Taven was drinking the same Cupid juice as Terrence because he was like, because we met in church and we prayed together, and we had all these conversations, and we met with the pastor and our little notebook, our little booklet of marriage, and answered our questions. He thought that when we got married, we weren't gonna argue. And I was like, we two people. I was more realistic. I'm like, we two people.
Yes.
And people disagree. Like you disagree with your friends. Your spouse should be your friend. So if you're going to disagree with people in your life, you're going to disagree with your spouse. It's inevitable. But I think that I would say to those newlyweds to have those courageous conversations, definitely. Because sometimes we as women or even our husbands, they think, oh, we got it right or we're doing it right. But in each other's eyes, we are not in agreement. So Taven may have thought, oh yeah, I'm doing this right, and Trina's pleased, and Trina wasn't. And I'm on the other side saying, I do this, and I'm checking the boxes of the stuff that I'm doing of what makes me a good wife. And he's like, no, I mean, that may be important to you, but that's not what's important to me. So it's like having those courageous conversations, not to point out what how the other person is wrong, but to be open and hear. So now we weren't having a discussion so that I can have a comeback. We were having a discussion so that we could get understanding to see how we could have a better marriage. And so if he felt like I was struggling with submission, I want him to speak to that in love, not accusing me, not saying, woman, you won't submit. And me not saying, me not coming at the other way. So we had to have those courageous conversations. And that dialogue should always be there. Just because you had the conversation once, we got to die daily. Sometimes we start off well, and then we start reverting back to our old ways. It's a habit. So you got to continue to have those courageous conversations in love. And I would say, marry someone that God told you to marry. Because there are times in our marriage, and I know he's done it, but I do it all the time. I'm like, Lord, now you told me to marry him. See, I can take that back to the Lord now, because I know God told me to marry this man. So when I got problems, this is how my conversation with the Lord goes. Lord, now you're the one that told me. I can take that back to God. See, I can't take that back to God if God didn't tell me to marry you. I'm sorry. I can't do that. I can't take that to God if God didn't tell me to marry him. And I can't have something feel like God's going to bless something that he didn't necessarily ordain. So please make sure that you have sought out God. Not that the person may fit the bill on the outside, but you want to make sure that God is in alignment with what you've done so that he can step in and help you in that marriage.
Yes, it's nice to be able to say, you better get your son, Lord.
Yes!
Yes.
Can I say something real quick to the newlywed? So I have this thing I always talk about, and my pastor kind of helped me with this thing. But anyway, I talk about the gift and the curse, right? So if you're looking for your gift in life, like who am I? why am I here? Whatever you hate the most is really what your gift is. So if you hate people behind closed doors, that's more than likely your gift. You know what I mean? So like with our marriages, like it's a love and hate, like it's a gift and a curse. Like it's great, it's bad, it's the same. And he talked about on Sunday about Jesus, like how we are Jesus, like we are his life, right? Am I right?
Uh-huh.
He talked about how what we fail to realize is we do have access to everything that every promise that Jesus has access to, that had access to, but we also have to carry the cross. And I don't think we understand sometimes that in our marriages, in our relationships, in our life in general, if you don't like, there are gonna be ups and there are gonna be downs. You know what I mean? It's that gift and the curse. It's you was here, you made it out of all the sperm, through everybody, you was able to get here. But so that's a good thing. So you get to live life. On the flip side of that, life comes with challenges. You know what I mean? The same way you marry this beautiful person, but they're not going to be beautiful every day. Things are not going to be perfect. So we just got to understand, we live life understanding that we have to carry the cross. Sometimes you got to carry the cross. Sometimes you got to be nailed to the cross. It don't feel good to be up there on the cross, but you're going to rise again. Like better days are coming. You know what I mean? So I thought that was really good. And that's so for newlyweds, remember, even when you at the point where you feel like, yo, like this can't be who God had for me, it's probably something in there for you that God is trying to show you and give you. So you got to really self-reflect, because you'll be like, boy, her feet was stinking the other day and her mama ugly, and that's why we can't be together. And what it really is your feet stink and your mama ugly. You know what I mean?
He was doing so good. You had us.
Because I had to bring y'all back in because y'all. But
so we have some questions we got some comments.
Okay.
And so our first comment is to both couples. How do you initiate having those deep conversations?
For us,
yes.
Well, for Taven and I think we have our best conversations either early in the morning on a Saturday morning when we both wake up and we just laying in the bed talking, or late at night when we're getting ready to go to bed. We normally have to be laying down and holding each other. And it starts like a loving type thing, and then we start having those discussions because it's not in anger. We're not mad at each other. So it's at a place where both of us are open to receiving. And it's normally in those moments when we're in the bedroom.
I think you have to have that.
I agree.
So the question is, though, how do you initiate it? How do you tell your husband when there's a problem instead of going in? How do you bring it up?
So a long time I used to have to talk in the dark, right? Because I can't control my facial expressions. So like she said, in the bed in the dark. But you have to start a conversation saying how I feel like, or you can't use accusatory words. So you're coming to the conversation and saying, hey babe, I want to talk to you about something. Pick a good time. Not when somebody just walked in the house and the kids running around and they're hungry and all this stuff. What?
We used to cut the lights off, right?
Well, yeah, we used to cut the lights off. Yeah. I'm just saying, be mindful of the time, your time, and everything that's going on around you. But start the conversation with what you feel and not accusing somebody of something.
Yeah. Or start off, say, baby, I love you. I'm not attacking you, I wanted to bring this.
That's gonna start.
Not in everybody else. I don't know about everybody else.
But definitely,
I got to do it in my house.
Yes.
Definitely I statements. We went to counseling. That's because I was like, well, you doing this, and they be like, use your I statements, and I'm like, well, I feel. I had to talk about how I felt.
But nobody care how you feel. And then that's the argument.
And this is a good example. Like literally, one time I did a bus trip somewhere, and we live in Newport News, so he dropped me off to do the bus trip, which was in like Norfolk or Chesapeake somewhere, right? And I was like, babe, make sure you're here to pick me up at the bus by 11 o'clock. Let's say I got back at 11 o'clock. I texted him when I was on the bus. I was like, babe, we're going to be back by 11 o'clock. Make sure you're there by 11 o'clock. He was like, okay. No, we did not. I texted him when we was almost there, 30 minutes out. Make sure you're there. He was like, yeah. I got to that day on bus place and
The
this
car wouldn't start.
was not there. It was like 15 or 20 minutes late, right? Everybody was gone. Like somebody had to wait in the car with me, and I was hot because I had left all these messages showing him where I was going. So when we got home, I didn't say nothing, but I was hot. We got home, we laid in bed that night, and I said, I just feel like you just didn't care.
That night, we didn't talk that night.
Well, whatever I said, I just feel like you didn't care about me when I was at that bus stop. I just felt like I didn't feel cared for. And by the time I finished, he was so hurt. He reached over and touched my arm. He was like, I'll never be late again. and that was never a response I had gotten. But he was
right.
Yeah.
He felt that in his heart because I began to talk from my perspective of how I felt. He was hurt about hurting me.
Yes. Yes.
I think you got to start conversations organically, right? Because I think one of the worst things you can say, especially for a man, is we need to talk. That doesn't start off with, right? Because automatically in our mind, we got to go through all these different scenarios and things like that. So maybe women do that, and a woman say we need to talk, and they're fine. You tell a man we need to talk, now he got to think everything that happened. What did I do wrong? What did she think I did wrong? What does she believe I did wrong? What does she think I did wrong? So I don't think you don't want to start off that way with a bit. We need to talk. It's better to catch in that moment, let it be organic. You're right. You don't want to catch, especially for men, just coming home, just coming have to do something. And man needs time to detox. People get off work, need time to decompress, and then you can have the conversation. And then usually when you're together at night in bed or in the morning where you don't have any pressure, nothing you have to get up and do, you don't have to run out and do something, those are better. Because you don't want to have a conversation like a time bomb's in the background because you have something you need to do. Yes. We got to leave at 10. We have this conversation at 9:50. That's probably not going to be that time. You're not going to resolve it.
More like 9:45.
10 is not going to feel good. Like you got to do it together. So it should be organic, right? You're talking. It should be in love.
Not during anger. Now when you're angry.
Yeah. I mean, you never want to talk when you're angry, but and then you just want to kind of initiate that in love, and you start off with the I. Hey, the other day when you did, and this is how our conversations go. We won't address the issue at that point, but when we're talking and we're in good space, then one of us will say, hey, the other day I felt like, and then we start talking about it, and you kind of going into it. That makes it easier. But yeah, that'd be my big thing. Don't ever say to a man, we need to talk. Never, ever, ever goes well for him.
Can I say this? I think one of my biggest things about talking, like when me and Chanel would have an issue, I wouldn't want to talk about it when we was in a good place because it's like, yo, we're going to go back to a bad place. But it's only because our communication wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like you have to start with having great communication, because if we have an issue and then you like, bro, I don't even feel like arguing with her. Like, if I bring this up, no matter how you say it, sometimes if y'all communication is bad, whether it's her or him, if you say if you start with Jesus told me to tell you, you still gonna get cussed out. Like, it don't, you know what I mean? Like, but it starts with the communication, right? Yeah, it starts with that.
Okay, so my next question from the audience, they said, even if God says you're the mate, you're the one, should you still seek counseling?
Always. Yes, always.
Counseling is good.
Because we're
for sure.
Like our first probably 15, 20 conversations, we talked for 4 and 5 hours. 4 and 5 hours, almost every conversation we had lasted a long time. And at that point, when we finally got married, we went to counseling. I figured we talked about everything. So we should have been on the same page. I figured we were on the same page. When you have 4 or 5, that's like 100 hours worth of conversation.
Yes, sir.
Like after 100 hours of conversation,
100 hours.
Everybody did cover everything.
We exhausted all the topics, right? We went from A to B to A. We covered it. So I figured it would have been okay. But when we got married, we discovered things, especially we moved in together. Yes. We discovered things that came up that we never talked about. Yeah. And what a counselor can do is help you identify those areas, because you don't want to be, for lack of a better term, right, arrogant enough to think we got it all covered. We said everything, because some stuff still gets left unsaid. Yeah. And when it comes up, it's usually in a crisis type moment when you find out, right? There were things that Trina found out that I did. Like, I stayed up late. She wanted me to bed and I stayed up. And for her, she didn't really think about it. And she was like, because when we spent the time together, we had dedicated time. But when I went home, I would stay up. So I was used to not getting into bed. And her thing was, I want you to get in the bed when I get in the bed. And I'm like, okay, it's good. So what's about to happen? She said, no, we're going to sleep. I'm like, I'm not sleeping. I'm not sleeping. Why am I getting in the bed right now?
Right.
I have that issue too. I think that was a form of control that y'all were struggling with. It's time to lay down. But nobody want to stay up at 12 o'clock every night.
We never talked about that. I didn't think it was a problem, right? Like, I didn't think staying up late was ever an issue, and it never came up. In all those hundreds of hours of conversation, it never came up. So what a counselor can do is help you cover the areas that you miss and point them out before they become a problem.
Yes.
Trina and I finally went to counseling after there was a problem, and our communication, which is normally great, broke down because we were too passionate about the things we were talking. We needed that third party. If you can do that ahead of time, you can prepare for issues. Like you always prepare for things in life, you can prepare, and you need that third person. They often can point out things you missed.
Yes.
And I just want to say that dysfunction, when you by yourself, you can be operating in dysfunction and not know it because you living with yourself. You don't, sometimes the dysfunction in your life, the roots of your dysfunction are not exposed until you get married and that you're living with a person. And so that's where that counseling sessions will uncover some of the things that you thought were normal, which was really a part of your contributing to your dysfunction.
Yeah.
Come on, First Lady.
Totally agree.
Okay, so I have two questions for Chanel and Terrence. So first question is, do y'all teach classes?
Or
Classes?
no, but that's my heart's desire. That's my heart. That's my heart's desire to really be able to do that. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, not yet.
Not yet. We're trying to get it together. Trying to get her together.
The second question is, where can we find your book?
It's on Amazon.
Come on.
On Amazon. It's called "I Want to Submit, But."
Oh,
come on.
yeah.
Don't make me run in here.
I have a website. It's www.submitted-wives.com, and then it'll take you straight to the Amazon link.
Okay, say it one more time. I was listening.
It's www.
And look at all the stars. Look at all those stars. Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all better come on, submit. Hey, now, Sister Gary, First Lady Gary, you get this book now. He gonna hold you.
I'm getting it.
So it's gonna come with a title.
She wrote it in her Jeremiah state. She wrote when she was in Jeremiah. I said, Lord.
He's running. I'm making him. He play too much. He's so embarrassing. Sit down. What in the world? I just don't know what to say about that. I just don't know what to say.
Hey, listen. I'm so proud of my wife. Let me say this real quick. I'm so proud of this girl for writing this book. Like she struggled with that thing, and I didn't even know about the book. She wouldn't tell me because she didn't want me to hold her accountable to write it either. I found out about her book. I just was so proud of her. She released this book. Y'all don't know how big that was for her, not only for her and my marriage. Like, I think any woman that's struggling with submission, like, I read the book. It's amazing. It's only a 5-day devotional, and it just give you a seed, and it plant how she said, like the way God gave this to her, it'll plant a seed in your life, and I promise you, like, our marriage has been amazing, and this girl has been. I'm proud of you. I want you to know on live. Okay.
So this is what I'm about to do. I'm about to buy several books, and I'm about to send it to some friends, including me. I'm going to send it to some friends as some gifts. I feel like this will be some good birthday and Christmas gifts. This will go
Yeah.
You'll lose some friends.
So with your book, do you do what's a book club? You doing a book club with your book?
No.
I see that though. I see that for you, Chanel.
You gotta
speak it in her life.
You do it without the title. Don't call it.
Maybe. I do have a group on Facebook for wives. It's called Submitted Wives.
There you go.
Like and I post in there, and I'm willing to do the devotional with any wife who wants to go through it. as a group or just by themselves. So yes.
You selling them. I see you doing the book club and your
Come
book.
on.
We all will join. Like your that wives group you have. Everybody,
Yes, ma'am.
we do it as a book club.
I
Yes.
would love that.
So since we talking about it, Trina, we gonna get Chanel. I can't do. I'm gonna support it and I'm gonna push it, but I think
You get prepared.
Chanel should go ahead and do it. Trina, you get the people together
Yes.
Yeah.
and y'all just go ahead and do it.
I'm with it.
Why? Let's not talk about it. Let's do it.
Yes.
2020
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, absolutely.
Come on, First Lady.
2020 has taught us a lot of stuff, and
Yes.
we can't put off things any longer
Yes.
because tomorrow's not promised to nobody.
Not at all.
I think when God has given us something, we need to do something with it. It's not enough just to write it down, but it says to run.
Yes.
So let's, I enjoyed both of you on tonight, both of you couples on tonight, all four of you.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
It's come to an end. And so what we're going to do now before y'all leave us is anything you last remarks you want to say to those that's watching, and where can we find y'all on social media? So either couple can go first.
What you got? What you want to say?
For me,
Yeah,
Yes.
some final remarks before we go off air.
go to counseling. Don't come with this thing with marriage thinking that marriage is easy. It's gonna be some work. Anything you do when you go to work, you get money, and you get money so you can buy stuff. So what my point is, like everything
That's worth something. Requires work.
requires a little bit of work. That's it. So if you love your spouse and you committed to your spouse,
You gotta die to yourself.
come on,
Die to yourself
y'all gonna make
for
me
the
run
sake of
again.
your marriage.
Amen. Daily.
Amen.
Daily.
Daily.
So you said you have businesses. Tell us about your business so those that's watching can support your business. And also, Terrence, give the young men that's watching that need some advice, maybe offline, if they wanted to talk to you. Where could they find you?
Okay. So we have 6 businesses. We have a detail shop. We've had that for 18 years. It's called Reliable Detailing. I'm a bookkeeper, so I have a bookkeeping firm. I'm trying to get away from bookkeeping. I want to teach business owners how to do their own books. So I do hold classes for that, for bookkeeping and accounting and new business startup.
She the goat.
We have a photography studio that we rent out by the hour to photographers. It's called Rent-A-Set Studios. We have 2 event venues. They're called Event Junkie. One is in Virginia Beach, one is in Norfolk. And we are in the middle of trying to open up a boat and RV storage yard.
Wow.
And that's called Chesapeake Parking Store. Yep. So everything is based in Hampton Roads, Chesapeake, Norfolk, and Virginia Beach.
Yes.
Yeah. So all of our the easiest way to find me is just my page is open on Facebook. Anybody can find me. It's both. Is your page open?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. So you can just follow me, send me a friend request. Any wives that want to join the group, it's called Submitted Wives. You'll be able to you'll see it. It's nobody wants to be submitted, so it's the only Submitted Wives groups that's on Facebook.
Don't say that. No matter what they want to be submitted, they just say found job.
Yes.
Come on, you and First Lady
Yes,
Gary.
that's right.
So next
You know-
week, I'm gonna just go ahead and put it out there. So next week, when I'm on live, I'm going to be able to tell y'all when they're hosting their book club.
Yes.
Yes.
She'll have a date for me because I'm gonna
Yes,
put her
I
on the
will.
spot. She'll have a date for me by next week. So next
will.
week you'll be able to announce it, and Katrina could get it started because Katrina's a host. She know how to get the people together.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Trina, back, Chanel. I'm supporting you. I'm telling you. Right.
I'm gonna send you a
And we
friend request.
can do it virtual.
Okay.
I got one more thing too.
Go
When
ahead.
y'all look for Chanel on Facebook, make sure y'all spell her name right. Cause she don't play by her name being spelled
Yes.
wrong, right?
You were supposed to get something to the meet.
I'm sorry. To the young men. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. I'm on IG too. I'm a photographer. I so you can inbox me either way. I'm T Shot Me, so TEE_shot SHOT_me. I'm on IG. I'm on Facebook. If you need to reach out to me, It's great to start there because my phone rings crazy. It's crazy how my phone rings.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you need to talk, I guess whatever I can give anybody, it'll be amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Taven and Katrina.
We are. She didn't finish the story about us. We are certified life coaches, and we kind of focus on that. I focus on psychological success as life coach. Kind of way you think, because how you think is really going to make a difference. How you perceive things. Trina does kind of life coaches. She also has great finances as well. We train coaches. So if you want to be a life coach, we do have a account where we train and certify life coaches. It's a New Mind Coaching Academy. We're not that big on the technology part, so we only on Facebook right now. So you can find me, Taven Garrett, and she is Katrina Walker Garrett for some reason, still on Facebook.
Oh.
So
No, it's only on Facebook. It's not hyphenated in real life. But when people
Uber.
yeah, but you can check us out on there as well, and find us if you're interested in being a certified life coach.
Again, I'd like to thank both of my married couples for joining me. Please continue to watch us on Facebook. Subscribe to my new YouTube channel. Continue to watch us on Periscope. Until next week, it's your host, NJ. I'm just saying.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.